So this is Robert Phoenix with Clean Water Fredericksburg, and as part of our ongoing series of speaking with people who are and have been active in the activism, the quest to remove fluoride from our public water supply. Today, I've got a good friend and a very committed dentist of all things, Joan Sefcik, who's going to spend some time with us and talk about her relationship as a professional in the dental field and actually being an anti-fluoride advocate. Thanks for joining us today, Joan.
Hi, Robert. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk with you briefly about is sort of give people a little bit of a background in your history around dentistry, how long you've been doing it, and then that moment in time where the light bulb went off in your head and you said, I'm a dentist, but I'm not in favor of fluoride.
Well, I've been practicing over 30 years, and probably about 20 years ago, I started studying how bad mercury was, and along with that is the fluoride, and then started realizing how dangerous fluoride actually is for your body. Mm-hmm. So fluoride doesn't exist. It's not an essential nutrient like some people think. Mm-hmm. It's actually doesn't exist naturally anywhere in your body. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's a poison. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it causes damage to the body.
So you went down the mercury path, and all of a sudden you're fine, because mercury obviously in fillings and all that stuff, which is a big part of what you do. And then you stumble upon the fluoride thing, and you're like, wow, this is a big deal. Did you look around and speak to other dentists about this? And what was that like for you? And what was kind of the sort of the professional reception you had?
Well, this is before the internet too, so it was a little harder to learn things, but I started going to the holistic groups and the biological dental groups, and they were all, on the same level of thinking about that. The other dentists, they think you're crazy because they've actually been pretty much taught that fluoride is great for your teeth. Your teeth aren't even made of fluoride, which is a big misconception too. It actually damages the tooth.
And so you're saying the fluoride is not only not good for us, I mean, clearly there's fluorosis, and we've seen pretty extreme examples of that. Is that what you're referring to as fluorosis?
Yes, the tooth's made of hydrogen, calcium, phosphorus, and oxygen, and it makes this nice little crystalline structure, and they all hook up like puzzle pieces. But when you add fluoride, it takes out the oxygen and the hydrogen molecule and makes fluorapatite instead of hydroxyapatite. And it fits together, but not as well. So it actually makes the top surface harder. That's why they think the teeth are stronger, but they don't fit together. So bacteria can leak in there, and you can get what they call hidden cavities. And it makes the teeth, the more there is in it, it can actually make the tooth weaker and cave in, like with severe fluorosis.
Interesting.
And it does the same thing to the bones too.
So the entire skeletal structure, teeth, of course, included.
Yes.
Right. Wow. Now, we got enlightened when we found out that the fluoride that is added to our water supply here is actually hydrofluorosilicic acid. And this is, now, I know you don't use fluoride, but I'm assuming this is a different fluoride than what, say, a mainstream dentist or a dentist who's pro-fluoride would use. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. It's an industrial byproduct. And it's usually contaminated with arsenic and other things too.
So we're not just getting fluoride, but we're getting all these other contaminants in our water supply. Mm-hmm.
And also fluoride, if you have old pipes, can make like lead pipes. It makes the lead leach out more too. So it's
right. Well, this is one of the things that was shared with us at a local level, because the people at the water plants had to replace their fluoride machine, and the hydrofluorosilicic acid basically ate through the entire machine, which is why they had to replace this thing in the first place.
Oh, hydrofluoric acid eats through glass. It's nasty. I mean, and that's what happens to your body when you take in the fluoride. It mixes with your stomach acid and turns into hydrofluoric acid. So then it goes all over your body, causing damage.
Now, Joan, you've been at this for a while now. You've been doing the fluoride, anti-fluoride activism. So you've seen a lot, and you've encountered probably a lot of resistance. One of the pieces that I've encountered here on a local level is the fact that people think the water is great because, well, number one, they want to be proud of their water, right? That's number one. And number two, they haven't seen any quote unquote visible health effects. What would you tell a person like that?
Well, it can be subtle health effects, and you won't attribute it to the water, because it causes things like calcifying the pineal gland, which can cause sleep problems. It decreases melatonin. It causes thyroid issues. How many people are hypothyroid these days? A lot of people are, because it replaces the iodine in the thyroid, because they're similar chemically, and it messes up the thyroid. Causes bone fractures. They actually contribute the hip fractures in elderly to fluoridated water, because it does the same thing to the bones. It makes them look denser on the x-ray, but they're more brittle, so they break. Right. I mean, it causes kidney damage, organ damage. I mean, it hurts. It disrupts about 72 enzymatic reactions in your body. So it can be subtle things that you attribute to something else.
So there's a lot of
brain damage. And a lot of brain damage is a big one in children.
Yeah. So they did that big study down in Mexico, which you're familiar with, and 10-year study. I mean, this is a long tail study of women who started using the local water. And for 10 years after that, and they tracked these women, and they found that the majority of the kids had ADHD. And I believe that they also found, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, that there was also a lower case of IQ in these children. Is that correct?
Yeah, it lowers IQ points. They've set up to 25 points in some studies in China.
Right.
And there's some Harvard studies too. There's over 70 studies now that it damages the brain with ADHD, autism, lowering IQ, a lot of neurological problems.
And it obviously has an effect on our neurology. What about downstream, things like Alzheimer's, MS? Is there any role that fluoride plays in those things?
Yeah, they linked it to Alzheimer's.
Interesting.
And especially when you start combining the heavy metals with the fluoride, because one's positive charge and one's negatively charged, it can really affect the brain.
Right. Interesting. Well, it would make a lot of sense, since it seems like Alzheimer's tends to be kind of a very 20th century and late 20th century, 21st century condition. And there's probably a case that could be made where we could track the introduction of fluoride into the system, into the municipal water system. And the numbers probably would match up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the contributing factors, because I think it started as early as the 40s.
Right, exactly. So what we're looking at here really is collateral damage. That's set up by the ingestion of hydrofluorosilicic acid.
Yes, and you've got other factors going on, the heavy metals.
Right, the heavy metals that can be leached out, or you might be downstream from somebody who's got a high lead content or a high arsenic content as well.
Or glyphosate, that's a big thing too now.
Right. So we've got these cocktails that are swimming around inside of our water. Let's talk about your role and your path as an activist dentist. A lot of people think that the ADA is uniform and in lockstep. And while from a top down sort of philosophy, that may be true, but you're not the only dentist out there that really believes that fluoride is not good for us. Isn't that true?
Oh, no, there's several organizations. I'm actually the past president of the International Academy of Biological Dentistry and Medicine, and we're big against the fluoride and mercury. The International Academy of IAOMT, Oral and Toxic Medicine also, and there's a Holistic Dental Association. There's several of us that are the dentists that are against it, not to mention other medical organizations that are against it.
Right. So it's important for people to know that just because the ADA is pro-fluoride, that doesn't mean all their dentists are. And that's a really important thing to understand.
No. they're pro-mercury too. So they actually have the patent on the mercury. So they're never going to go against the mercury.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I don't know if you saw this, but the ADA is making a big push with the Trump administration right now to get this legislation passed. You want to talk about that to people
I believe that's one that will make it easier to fund pro-fluoridation.
That's right.
Yeah. So write your congressman about it.
Yeah.
There is the Fluoride Action Network, FAN. You can go onto that, fluoridealert.org.
Yeah.
Hopefully that should be on there.
Yeah.
They have some.
I think first of all, I think there's a number to Trump that you can call. I know a lot of people have been doing that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And I really feel like one of the reasons why this is taking place is because people are waking up and they're wanting the fluoride out of the water. So from a top-down level, it's like, okay, we've got to retrench and come up with a new strategy here so we can maintain control over this public narrative.
Well, it's, fluoride tablets are prescription. And on top of that, they're not FDA approved. So they're putting fluoride in the water, mass medicating everyone where they can't control the amount. If someone's working outside or an athlete, they're going to be drinking more water. If you're giving it to a baby, God forbid, or a small child, a baby if you're feeding it formula with fluoridated water, they're getting 400 times the amount per pound that an adult gets. So what's that doing to their brain? Or a small child? So you can't control it. So they're medicating everyone without controlling it.
Right, and they're medicating everybody without consent, which is a really big deal. And I think a lot of people are getting more and more informed about the idea of consent. And it's a pretty essential ingredient in terms of, how we can live our lives at a most kind of basic, fundamental, and sovereign level.
And if you want fluoride, there's plenty of places you can get it. You can go to the drugstore and get your fluoridated toothpaste if you want it.
Right. You can get fluoridated toothpaste, fluoridated mouthwash. I mean, there's, you can even buy fluoridated bottled water if you want. Right?
And notice the toothpaste has a warning on the back to call the poison center if you eat too much.
I know. I saw that. I mean, think about that. If you eat too much toothpaste, you better get on the phone and call 911.
A tube can kill a small child.
Repeat that one more time.
A whole tube of toothpaste can kill a small child.
With fluoride. I mean, that alone should wake people up, right?
Yeah.
And basically what we're doing over time is we're participating and imbibing theoretically what would be a slow kill, right?
Exactly.
It's a slow kill. Wow. Joan, this is really remarkable and really informative. What would you like to share with the people of Fredericksburg about the opportunity to actually remove this toxin from our municipal water supply?
Well, it doesn't need to be there in the first place. And it's not only damaging the people, it's damaging the animals. It's in the food if you're watering the food with it. So you're getting even more exposure. That's other places you get exposure. And go to your council, talk to everyone, and inform everyone about it. Because it is a toxin. It doesn't help you in any way.
Right. And we're working our way to get this onto the ballot in May. And so I think we're getting close. I think we're maybe about 150 signatures away. So, what our next step is now is to inform the people in this town of really what they're drinking. And this has been great because you've provided not just information, but professional information.
Well, the fluoride situation to me, it kind of reminds me of back in the day when your doctor would recommend which cigarette was good for you. Kind of like the dentist's doing now with the fluoride. I think soon they'll wake up and see what they're doing is wrong, but it looks very similar to me.
Well, the waking up process, at least from a civic level, is starting to take place. We had San Marcos have the fluoride removed from their water supply. As a result of that, Buda and Kyle, they no longer have fluoride in the water. Yes. Elgin doesn't have fluoride in the water. Lago Vista doesn't. What's that?
College Station.
A bunch of smart people live in College Station.
Don't say that in Austin.
Yeah, well, Austin, I
I
mean,
know. Austin
Austin's a unique kind of, oh, there's
yeah.
Austin's kind of a unique experience because, I mean, there were a lot of really vocal people that wanted the fluoride out of the water in Austin, right?
Oh, yes.
And Austin just turns a deaf ear to it. Well, hopefully here people will listen to what you have to say and really think with a real, sober sense of focus and attention around what you shared with us. Joan, I really want to thank you for taking time out and being a part of this series where we're talking with people who are in the know about fluoride, and we can pass this information along to the people of Fredericksburg.
Oh, sure. Anytime. Thank you.
You're welcome.